Hello, how are you guys? I've missed you so much. I know it's been a while, and I gotta say it actually feels pretty good to be sitting here talking to you again for the first time in a while.
It is a little bit anxiety inducing though,
Because I could feel in my body how out of practice I am at this, but
I think we'll be fine.
I'm sorry for the absence. It was completely unintentional. It was unexpected. I got sick and then I just kept getting more sick. And then that made me really anxious about the fact that I was sick. So there was a physical aspect to it, and then a mental aspect, and then an emotional aspect because I felt like helpless. So it was just so many things going on at the same time. But I'm finally better, I think. I think I'm still recovering, honestly, but I decided that I think the music is the last ingredient to get me to 100%. So that's what we're gonna try today. And I think I couldn't have chose a better day to jump back into this because we've reached the Pink Floyd slot in our rotation. This specific album, everyone is in agreement that it's amazing. And I'm talking people online and offline. Everything I've heard about this album has been positive. So I'm very excited to get into The Wall. But as amazing as I think it's about to be, it's also really, really long. So we're gonna do something a little bit differently today with how we're going to listen to Pink Floyd. Normally we listen to the whole album all the way through, but there are 4 sides this time around. So I'm gonna split this into two videos. Today's gonna be side 1 and 2. The next video will be side 3 and 4, but you won't have to wait until the next time Pink Floyd shows up on our rotation. 3 and 4 is gonna be the very next video after this one. So the game plan here is I'm gonna be listening to side 1 and 2 all the way through without breaking. We're just gonna go from one song to the next and the next. And then on the second listen, there'll be more of a commentary, reaction analysis format. Kicking off our listen, we've got song number 1 on side 1, In the Flesh, ? So I guess it'd be more like, in the flesh, right?
think they'll like this song? Do you think they'll try to break my balls? I build the wall. Should I run for president? Mother, should I trust the government? Put me in the firing line. Is it just a waste of time? Mama's gonna make all of your nightmares come true. You fly, but she might let you sing. Babe, mother, do you think she's dangerous? Would she tear your little boy apart? Don't you cry. Don't let anyone get you through. Always be baby to me. Mother, did it need to be so high?
There's no plane up in the sky.
Did you see the frightened ones beneath the clear blue sky? Did you hear the falling bombs? Goodbye, blue sky. Watch empty spaces. Shall I fill the final? What do you really want? Well, someone is doing rock and roll every day. What do you really want?
Fabulous room. Are all these your guitars? Apartment?
Apartment.
Wanna take a bath?
Day after day, love turns gray. Grown older, and you have grown colder. Can feel dry as a funeral drum. Run to the bedroom and the suitcase on the left. You take this silent freeway. Would you like something to eat? Call the cops. Do you think it's time I stop? Oh, babe, don't say it's the end of the road. I need you, babe. Don't leave me now. How can you treat me this way? Oh, babe. I don't need no arms around
is it? So, just some initial first thoughts. The bleeding of one song into the next, the way the entire album, or I guess the way these first two sides were interweaved, one song went into the next. It was so satisfying. It felt like one really long song that we've listened to so far, honestly. But with so many different moments, right? I can't decide whether Pink Floyd is very serious about being playful or they take a playful approach to being very serious, right? Because we have a lot of these really fun elements that are used musically but traditionally non-musical, like speaking, or like the phone conversations, or the telephone signal line, or all these different elements that are really really cool. And I love all the sequencing and the patterns that we hear, like when a certain musical motif is repeated in a different place in the music. We also had moments that were very rock and roll-esque. I know that this is rock, but you know, it had that rock and roll in your face feel at times. It was actually not used frequently, but the moments where it was used, it was very delightful and satisfying. And there were some instances where I could recall Wish You Were Here. I felt a little bit of Wish You Were Here vibes. And then there were even times where I felt a Beatles-esque type of vibe, or a more Beatles approach. So all in all, I can see why this specific album has so many fans. It's gained yet another, and I haven't even finished it. So we're gonna start off again at side 1, song number 1, In the Flesh. So right away, they're starting off with this like sort of musical warm-up chord progression that sounds like a little exercise, like dun 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 dun, and it's delivered very light, very airy. It's a soft, ethereal moment, right? Nothing too harsh, nothing too rock in our face yet. But that beautiful, light, joyous moment is harshly and abruptly interrupted, bam bam, by the most rock drop ever. Very, very Pink Floyd-esque. I gotta say, this is one of their staples. They have a few moments, and that are actually expressed in this album, that I feel are very, you know, you're listening to Pink Floyd if this happens. And this is one of the circumstances, this harsh turn. It's like this major pivot, bam, a 180 rock in our face, this booming guitar. It's sensational. Right away, they don't waste any time, and they give us our second Pink Floyd staple moment, which is that drop, that switch up when they pull back and they play with the strings of our heart right there. So they perform this back and forth scaling motion where they bring us up and up and up and then back down, and then they make us feel like we know what's gonna happen so that they can throw us off again and just keep going up the last time. And they have this sort of miniature explosive moment right at the beginning. And the blend of the heavy rock and roll sound coming from the guitar and the way it's being played with so much grandness and such a great presence, mixed with the electronic nature of the synthesizer and all the beautiful, colorful overtones it is creating. The way that both of those two communicate and interact with each other just creates this space that only Pink Floyd knows how to take up and exist in, and just blows me away. I love the essence that they create when the vocal kicks in, right? It feels like the instrumental nature is kind of peeled off a bit. Like it feels like we're existing on the echoes of the instruments, right? This cloudy version of the music, so that we're made to focus on that vocal very clearly. And we have the backing vocals, the oohs in the background that add to the ethereal nature of this section. This was one of the first times I felt a Beatles-esque moment in the introduction of this album, where it feels like they're setting us up for a show, like they're inviting us, they're welcoming us in, right? Like this is a welcoming opening grand number. And I love that pulse right there. Like it sounds like there's a heartbeat in the music, which isn't the first time we see this with Pink Floyd. terrifying, incredible, brilliant, mortifying. They do a great job of making me feel like I'm on a roller coaster and I'm falling fast, and I get that feeling, that same exact pit in my stomach they're able to recreate sonically, and the just so beautiful, so magical. I feel like this was the perfect song to set the stage for this album. It was a great opening number. The guitar playing sensational, but I want to give it to the drums for the opening number. I think that they're perfect. They're exactly what make the song what it is. To me, the drums took it away. I really, especially at the end there, the way that they build that tension is something else. Sitting at number 2, we've got The Thin Ice. Including the element of a baby crying is an example of how Pink Floyd uses their playfulness in a very creative way, because they don't change and rearrange the baby crying to make it sound more musical, because yes, the baby is technically hitting pitches with each of its wails, you know, it does hit notes, but they're not, it's not included for a musical purpose. It's included, I guess, on a deeper level because it will tie into the meaning of
Mama loves her baby. The sky may look blue.
the way the piano is being played here, and just hearing each key hit is so soothing and comforting.
If you should go skating.
That transition right there was really seamless, and it feels like it almost didn't have a transition. It just went straight away into the second half of the song. And the way one song flows so easily into the next, it almost feels like we're being transported to another song. So I think that that's really cool that this song has like 2 completely contrasting faces.
On the thin ice of life.
And something that makes this portion of the song contrasting to the first half is that there was that soothing element that was furthered by the legato nature in the music, right? How everything felt so connected. But here we have a more staccato approach where, you know, we have the repeating notes, which is almost impossible to play repeating notes and repeating chords in a smooth way, because you have to bring your fingers off the keys to hit them again. So it's more clunky, like clunk, 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 clunk. And the delivery of the vocal also has a similar approach where it feels a little bit nasalier, and it feels like a different delivery altogether, a little bit more playful, a little more character-y.
Tears stained eyes slip out of your depth and out of your mind. You
And the song completely switches up on us yet again, and here they're giving us a more rock and roll-esque type moment where they have their guns blaring, right? This is the fiery part of the song. It's a little more explosive, it's a little more dramatic and deep. It's the leather jacket, it's the fire going on in the background, it's the motorcycle being drove across the stage. That's what's happening right now. We've arrived at song number 3, which is the first song of the Another Brick in the Wall saga, the 3-part saga. This is Another Brick in the Wall, part 1. I love how the songs just slowly seep in, and this is not something that's specific to song number 3, Another Brick in the Wall. This is almost every song, where it starts off at the tail end of the last song, and you can hear the new instruments and the new progressions and everything that's about to start happening slowly build underneath as the top layer starts weaning off.
cross the ocean, even just a memory in the family album. Daddy, what?
The way all the elements are coming together here allows this kind of hollow vibe. It feels empty, but it feels like anticipation is being built. It doesn't feel empty and stranded. It feels like we're walking in a certain direction and we can see our destination that's coming closer and closer into view, but you can still feel the distance. You can still feel we're not at the destination. And it's a combination of the way a few different instruments are being played, especially in the guitars, right? We have that da-dum, 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 almost this monotonous type nature, which feels like walking steps. You know, like when you're walking a great distance, each step starts feeling the same, like you're walking the same step over and over. It feels like that. Da-dum, da-dum. But then we have this like howling wind nature in the more electronic elements, and it's really cool the way it's playing together. It's the combination of the instruments that make the notes feel very articulated, and then when the notes feel a little more slidey where you can't really tell what's going on, but it's more of a slide upwards. And then we have far in the distance, we hear voices, we hear like children, and we hear a whistle. It's just the playful elements start coming into play as well. Hemos llegado al número 4 del lado 1 y es The Happiest Days of Our Lives. How many musically external elements can you count so far? Because here it sounds like we have this helicopter coming into view, into frame. I like how this one is a little bit more percussively driven and percussively heavy. And it's ironic for a song that has the word happiest in the title. The title is The Happiest Days of Our Lives, how it's very minor driven and it's like inundated in these minor chords, and it creates this really fun dynamic. And up next, the Another Brick in the Wall saga continues with number 5, Another Brick in the Wall, part 2. A little bit rebellious. We don't need the teachers, you know, to leave the kids alone at school, you know, a little bit of a defiance. But I also feel like it's very groovy, you know, it feels a little bit, yeah, it's super groovy, disco, Bee Gees, kind of in that vein a little bit. Feels like we got a group of children on strike. Good repetition, bring it home. This electric guitar moment steals the whole show with this song. I can't always understand everything that's being said whenever it's spoken, but I definitely missed what he said. The only word I did catch, though, was pudding. Last song on side 1, Mother.
Mother, do you think they'll drop the ball?
This one has a more acoustic feeling, which feels a little bit more vulnerable. It feels less artificial, like with all the beautiful space-like elements. I feel like the electronic elements give it like this futuristic, this outer space feel. This one feels a little bit more earthbound. It feels grounded and it feels present, live, real, and like conversational.
Do you think they'll like this song? Mother, do you think they'll try to break my balls?
Then we can hear fading closer and closer into view, you know, we have the more electronic elements starting to become louder and more present.
Just a waste of time.
So there have been a few different levels expressed in the vocal performance of this song, yet in each one you can feel so much emotion, even though they're so drastically different. You can feel the desperation, you can feel the indecisiveness, you can feel the insecurity, you can feel devastation a little bit. This section of the song is the mother replying to the questioning child or the insecure child. This time around, I felt like there was a sense of all the fears that we have and the ways that we see the world, all our nightmares could be generationally passed down. It could be this thing that's within us that we keep spreading. That just about wraps up side one. Moving on to side two. Number one is Goodbye Blue Sky. And that's funny because there's a grocery store in Miami called Blue Sky. So just the inclusion of this sweet chirping bird sets off the stage for this more sunshine, a little bit of a happier feeling, at least for now.
There's an airplane up in the sky.
That's so cute. Okay, I did understand that one.
Look, Mummy, there's an airplane up in the sky.
I feel like with this one, we're dealing with this duality of this bright, sunshiny, light nature that gets reeled in quick and it gets pulled down to this deep, dark zone. Then the struggle is coming back up to the light. It's playing with these two contrasting elements. The broken chord feels like it feels like a broken chord, or like this Alberti bass movement, and the movement of all the pitches and the notes in this song is so beautiful. It's haunting and heartbreaking at the same time. Number two on side two, we've got Empty Spaces. There's so much like distortion and dissonance and really interesting movement in the chords, and the chords that are being played are actually really, really unique here, and the gravel in the voice. There's just so much atmosphere that's being created, and it's a little bit eerie and creepy and scary with Empty Spaces. I guess that's the whole purpose of Empty Spaces, right? It's creating this empty feeling, like we're existing in the empty space that they're describing to us. Number three on side two, we've got Young Lust. Right away, one of the most harsh rock and roll in our face moments we've had so far. It's bluesy, it's hard, it's rock and roll, it's larger than life. And as the song progresses, we hear all the rock and roll elements unfold themselves. Like we have that abrasive vocal, we have the screech in the guitars and the pull down in the bass, and then we have a lot of play in the percussion. And I feel like whenever something has a really interesting percussive nature, or whenever there's a new element, like with this one there was tambourine, it always tends to lean more rock and roll, because I feel like rock and roll is so dependent on that beat, on that drum that just keeps things steady, but in a dangerous way. And you wouldn't think of danger and steadiness to go together, but the drums somehow merge those two worlds and create a beautiful, beautiful sound. En el número 4 del lado 2 tenemos One of My Turns.
Wanna take a bath? Are you feeling okay?
Day after day, you have grown colder. Can feel.
I love that. The feel. I feel. I love this one so much. This probably has to be one of my favorite ones. And it's really interesting, this storyline that they take us from young lust, right? That initial spark and the journey that love goes on into this one's talking about dying love, and that's such a heartbreaking moment. I like how they ended off with that sustained note, kind of added to that suspended feeling that they also give us with the instrumentation. But you know, it slowly went from this dark, dreary, mopey song into this snowballing, chaotic moment, and then thrown in there, sprinkled in there, we had that piano slide, which I always love, and I will always point that out when I hear it and when I recognize it, because it just makes me happy. And yeah, I like the direction that song went into. I like the explosive moment. I thought that was a big turning point in the song. I thought that made it really, really interesting and exciting. Number 5 on side 2, we've got Don't Leave Me Now. The repeated electronic synthetic notes that start off harsh and then the repetition just trails off lightly adds to this cosmic feeling. Like I feel with this one, we're suspended in the Milky Way in outer space, just drifting.
Don't leave me now.
The pairing of the dissonant vocal melody with the dissonance in the augmented chords kind of make it feel really creepy and skin crawling, but still add to that cosmic feeling. It's a balance between the two.
When you know how I need you.
If that isn't a Pink Floyd-ism of a moment, I don't know what is. That's one of those drops that I'm telling you about. That's a drop, that's a heart drop, where your heart completely sank into your stomach all the way to the bottom. The chaos that happens right there at the end. There's a slight buildup, right? It doesn't start at 100 max, but it gets there quickly, is anxiety inducing. And the saga of Another Brick in the Wall comes to an end with song number 6 on side 2, Another Brick in the Wall, part 3. We are all just bricks in the wall. I like how with this one, it was what we don't need. I mean, in the other ones, you know, we had a sense of what we don't need, especially in part 2, we don't need school, we don't need the education, we don't need the sarcasm in the classroom, whether that's coming from the teachers, which has happened before, or mainly the students. But here we had, I don't need drugs to calm me, you know, we don't need to look for things externally. Last song of the night, closing out side 2, we've got Goodbye, Cruel World. And that's a perfect end to our video. Goodbye. I've really, really missed this. I've missed our community, which is so amazing and beautiful, and I love each and every one of you. Please let me know how you've been doing. Let me know if any of you have gotten sick, which I hope not, because that's been terrible. I really hope to leave that chapter behind. But this was a lot of fun. I can see why there's so much hype around The Wall, and I can really see why so many people love Pink Floyd as a whole, because they so far have not been anything like what I went in expecting from Pink Floyd, especially from the first album, and especially after listening to that first album that I did and seeing this progression that they've taken and that we as a listening audience have taken with their music, and just so eye-opening or ear-opening, I guess, because we're listening with our ear. But to every single hardcore Pink Floyd fan, I see you, I hear you, and I join you. I am now a hardcore Pink Floyd fan, and I will tell anyone and everyone that. I'll always be recommending Pink Floyd to everyone from here on out. I'm excited to get into side 3 and 4 of The Wall in our next video, and I'll hope that that's soon. I'll hope that from here to the next time I film, things stay intact. I hope you guys stay safe, take care, and take it easy.